Ah, um, so it's still morning, guys, and how's everybody today? I hope we're all doing okay. I was trying to do this video using the new podcasting equipment that we've got for the center, but technology, I'm sharper, with the mic and all. So I hope the audio is okay and you can hear me clearly. But I just want to touch on a few things. Yesterday I went to the minister's roadshow session, and it was nice, exciting, and I was glad to see some of you there and show the enthusiasm and interest in your businesses. And the minister said a lot of things, and she touched on the approach. But one of the things that stood out for me was the level at which she was communicating with the crowd, and I feel there was a bit of a disconnect because she was more on a high-end based, policy-based, and strategy-based, and dealing with more of the nitty-gritties in terms of how things work on a higher level. And the SMME, some of the SMMEs there picked it up in a sense of like they can get their needs met in a particular way. And one of the takeaways I got from her is that we should try and figure out how this animal, this industry, this what we call corporate world or world of business works. And that's what she was driving across. And one thing I liked about what she said was about the the shifting from tender-based business models, tenderpreneurs. And she explained how that type of business model or that sector only constitute about 30% of the overall business space. So there's another 70% that people are not tapping into, and people are mainly focused on these tenders, which with some of you, with our one-on-one sessions, I normally explain to you how those works. So you need to look at certain areas in terms of trying to change your model around and focusing on maybe the bigger piece of the pie, which is that 70% of the sector. Now, there are three things that I want to cover in this short video with you guys. I want to talk about types of businesses, and then I want to talk about building value-based businesses, and then I want to talk about the feedback loop. So let's get into it. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I would really appreciate your feedback on it. This is the approach that I'm trying to take in terms of now maybe delivering on business development services from the incubator. So which is maybe to give you guys content on a regular basis, and then if you can critique, add, and maybe comment on it so that we can grow together, because we're always all learning. So let's look at types of businesses. So there are in terms of the cash aspect of a business, there are two main types of businesses. So the first type of business, you call it a capital gains kind of model, and then the second type of business, you call it a cash flow based kind of model. So when we say capital gains type of model, we're looking at a model where you put in a certain amount of money. Let's say, for example, you put in 10,000, and then when you put in 10,000, once you've invested that 10,000, you wait for either the market to change or something to happen, and then you sell that particular product at let's say 11,000. So when you sell that particular commodity product or whatever at about 11,000, the capital gains on it is about 1,000. So you've made essentially 1,000 off that kind of model. But remember, it's a once-off kind of thing. It's not an ongoing approach to it. So if we look at now a cash flow based kind of model, which is something I also enjoy more than a capital gains kind of model. So a cash flow based model is that you take your capital, you build a business model, and once you've built a business model around it, once in a set period of time, you enjoy what we call dividends from this business. So you can say you've got your little spaza shop and you're selling fruits and veggies from it, or whatever you're selling from this plaza. And then the cash flow is basically the capital that keeps the business going. Now, with the amount of cash flow that you're putting in, there's a certain return on investment that accumulates over time. Now, with this kind of model, you're not necessarily tapping into the cash flow base, but you're tapping into the return base of it on a regular basis. So you don't get rid of the whole business. You're just spending on the gains that you're getting from the cash flow. The cash flow remains in the business ongoing. So once in a while you withdraw, maybe you estimate what's your cash flow value. Let's say your cash flow value for the month is about, for your fruit and veg business, the operational cost for a month is about 10,000. And if the operational cost per month is about 10,000, you looking at a model where you cut out your expenses, and then the return on the investment after that 10,000, let's say it's 500. So if the return after investment is 500, this means that over 12 months you're going to multiply that 500 by 12. That will be what you'll be making in a year. And remember, with your expenses from the cash flow model, you're looking at your salaries also. So you'll be paying yourself a certain portion of your salary. And I want to make you guys aware of something. You know, when you're running a business, especially a small business, and you don't pay yourself a salary, what normally happens is that you end up taking more than you're actually supposed to be taking from the business, because it's impossible for you not to live on zero. You know, so you rather dedicate a certain amount for salary, and then you pay yourself that amount, and then you run the business over a 12-month period where the additional earnings of the business are reserved, and then at the end of the financial year you can look at taking dividends or reinvesting those dividends, which is the additional money that you're making. But the capital, like the cash flow amount that you invested initially, keeps going on and on and on. So that's something to look at in terms of how you approach your model, your business model in terms of cash. And then the second part that I want to talk about is building value-based businesses. So when I say value-based businesses, I'm talking about a solution where we are trying to create something that is essentially demanded by someone because of the value that they receive from using it. So we need to sort of introspect that what we are putting out there into the market as small businesses, is it really demanded by, do people really want what we're selling? You know, you can see with value-based businesses, if you look at Apple, if they're going to release a new phone in the US, you see people queuing 3 days before, 2 days before, and queuing outside the store for like the whole night and all of that. That's a demonstration of the value that people perceive from the product that they're going to be acquiring. So you want to create something that adds value, and a way to establish or to determine if you're creating something that adds value is by trying to get an understanding, which is the third point that I want to come into, is to try and get an understanding of whether the customers are happy with what you're selling. So you want to create a value-based product which sort of solves domestic problems, domestic being problems in South Africa, problems in the Free State, problems in Bloemfontein. But the concept that you're coming with has to show elements of scalability. It must be able to be replicated in other provinces. It must be able to be replicated in other countries. Is it scalable? Is it agile enough? Can it change? And can it be used by other people in other countries? You know, an example of this can be your Uber. It's a solution that was based mainly in the US, but it can be replicated, duplicated, and then it can be scaled down to a South African context, you know. And that's how, you know, a lot of Americans approach business. The solutions that they come up with are not necessarily maybe targeted at the California or a particular area. They might be targeted for California, but they've got a global outlook in terms of the longevity of the solution, or the capability of the solution. So it can be used in a small town, but you can open it up and you can use it anywhere in the world, which offers you greater market share, greater business opportunity for growth. But it must be a solution. There must be something wrong, or there must be something missing in the market for you to say that you're delivering value. You know, duplicating what someone else is doing can put you in business for about 2 to 3 years, and then you start getting frustrated because you start getting into this race of making money, because people don't really see the value of what you're offering. They're not queuing for what you're trying to sell. So you need something where people are queuing. You know, when KFC opens their door, they don't shout at people and all of that. People understand the value they're going to receive from there, and then they just flock into the store. So look at seeing if you can review your current business and ask yourself the question, by me having this business existing in this way, how am I making life better for the next person? How is it that my business is contributing to a more productive lifestyle, a more proactive kind of approach? How do you ease the process of life, or how do you amplify the process of life by existing as a particular business? And in questioning those things, you'll start to look at areas of value. Hey, we 11 minutes in, and I wanted to make the video like 10 minutes, but to the last point. So this is the feedback loop. So my last point is the feedback loop. Guys, what I've noticed is that we build businesses from our heads, and a lot of SMMEs don't take the time to sort of share their ideas with someone else. And there's that fear element. I understand that someone might be interested in stealing your concept, or you know, stealing your business idea, essentially. But I can tell you this, it's very, very difficult to steal a business idea, you know, in terms of implementation. And remember, there are a lot of ideas out there. When investors come in, they don't necessarily look at the idea nowadays. Investors look at who is driving the idea, because it's one thing to have brilliant ideas, it's another thing to have the capacity to drive that idea to where it needs to be in terms of height and capacity. So the feedback loop is something that I want you guys to start maybe looking at in your businesses. You look at a company like Facebook. Facebook purely survives on a feedback loop approach. And what I mean to say is that Facebook relies on algorithms. Algorithms are fed by you, the consumer of Facebook, through your attention. So Facebook monetizes your attention and your behavioral patterns by forming those algorithms about you. So Facebook essentially takes information based on what you do and how you behave. So Facebook basically operates on the basis of what you're telling it, in terms of which videos do you watch on Facebook, how much time do you spend on Facebook, when are you on Facebook, and what content are you interested in. Now that Facebook uses as feedback in order to be able to feed your timeline with the content that will meet your needs to keep you longer, because Facebook is in the business of attention. It's the same concept with YouTube. You know, if you're listening to YouTube and you pay attention, you play your music on YouTube, you'll realize that YouTube knows exactly what kind of tracks you want to listen to. But now that's just an algorithm playing. But where does that come from? Where does that information come from? That feedback loop, where does it come from? It comes from you, the consumer of YouTube, because now you're feeding YouTube this information about yourself, and you're telling YouTube, this is what I want to listen to, this is what I like, this is when I watch YouTube, this is how I do it. And YouTube takes that information that you're giving it, and YouTube builds a product for you as a consumer on their platform, which keeps you coming back for more, which is now something that I want you guys to look at trying to implement in your business. Why don't we get into a space where on a monthly basis, if you're running a restaurant, a fast food business, why is it that you don't have a survey, running every month. You want to know what these people are thinking and make it random. You can run it off Google. I don't know how that works, but there is forms to run it off Google, and you can do a quick survey. How do you feel about the food? How do you feel about the amount of time we take to serve you the food? How does the parking work for you? Is it convenient? Was the food hot enough? Was the food ready? Was the food nice? Was something wrong? Was the service okay? This is information that you as a business owner need. And guys, I'm telling you, if you start putting yourself in a position where you take that information that you're getting from your consumers, imagine it like bricks, and you're building a house, and the bricks is the feedback information that you're getting from a consumer, and the house is the business that you're building. Your house will keep growing because you'll be solving problems which are closer to your consumers' needs. You'll be solving problems that your consumers are really complaining about, not problems that you are assuming based on what you think alone, but problems that you actually know. The food was cold. I struggled getting parking. It's hard to find your place. The location map threw me off. So you need to correct your geolocation things on, what is this? YouTube or something. Is it YouTube? No, Google Maps. So that the location is more correct. Your business is not visible. I can't see the site. I got lost. Maybe you need to put some branding outside. So now it becomes more accessible. And the more you do this on a regular basis, you listen, you take the brick, and then you make the changes. You listen, you take the brick, and then you make the changes. And you build a business model in that fashion with the feedback loop. I think that will go a long way. Okay, so if you watched the video, thank you. And it's my first one. I'm trying something new with you guys. So it would be nice if you could maybe put down some responses in terms of how the video was. And I hope the advice adds value. If you need more information, all of you've got my number, so you can always inbox me. So yeah, that's it. Guys, try and do a survey. And if you want to do a survey, go online, research how types of surveys work and all of that, and try and do something and find the ups and downs of it, because you want to get quality information. So try and do a survey and something that can maybe give you some feedback, even if you don't use the information, but it gives you that when you're thinking about your next move or which problem to solve in your business, because businesses have problems all the time, so you have to sort of choose which one comes first. So it sort of helps in that essence. And if you can do a survey program maybe, or a survey kind of approach for like 3 months, I'd be really interested in the type of changes that you get in your business in terms of return, customer satisfaction, and all of that. All the best, guys, and enjoy Thursday. I look forward to your feedback. Cheers.